You good?
Nervous.
You should be.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Episode 385. It is Lopez Radio, coming to you from the airwaves of the internet, which aren't actually airwaves, unless you're on Wi-Fi. I guess they're kind of airwaves, right? Joining me today is a good friend of mine. She just helped me out by doing an episode of Offline with Lopez Radio, which is available on YouTube. You can find her on Twitch and YouTube at Kerrty, Kerrty. And then you can find her on social media at Kerrty Plays. It is Kerrty. Hi. Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
It's great. It's great. I feel so much more relaxed. I'm like a ball of stress when I record the other show.
Why?
I don't know.
What's different between that show and this show? It's the same thing, really.
I'm trying to just be a little more so I still record like the video and all the stuff for this one, but this one's just so much more relaxed. It just feels like, I don't know. It just feels like the devil you know.
This one's pleasure. Business and pleasure.
Kind of. And the other one's just still new. That was just episode, 7, I think. Lucky number 7.
Oh, I couldn't be number 6. That's my lucky number.
Well.
Damn. Missed opportunity, did.
We missed it. We missed it. But, I mean, I don't know. Something about this show, I guess because this is 385, and I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
Been here, done that.
Throwing the towel to the wind.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just kind of like, let's take off our shoes and relax a little bit.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in offline too. It was like actually, I think we did it in the first take that crashed. So this is all brand new now. We were very dumb for not doing this when you were here.
Yeah.
We were very dumb for not doing it. It's such a different experience when the person's sitting across the table from you. And like,
I think it's just more, I think you just feed off each other's energy more.
Yeah. It's hard to do that online.
When I'm sitting in my computer room where I work all day.
In front of a completely real image.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps though that we have met.
Yes.
And we do know each other. So I think that helps a little bit.
You don't know.
When you're like interviewing like somebody else for the first time, like there's just that kind of like.
It's stressful to think about because you just don't know who they're going to be. You have no idea. Like, is this person going to even want to talk to me when we get going?
An idea.
Yeah.
Like you're pretty good about like researching a little bit.
Feeling people out. I still get nervous just because I think it's not even the fact that I'm worried about me holding my own in a conversation because I feel like I can do that. It seems like it's more so it's like, are they going to be comfortable or are they going to be intimidated? Because some people come on and they're just kind of like, what? What's happening?
I feel like you're very good though about leading the conversation, which I think is something. Have you ever? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there was just this like moment of silence, and it was just like I had to check my phone to see if it stopped playing, but it was the most awkward silence. Like just edit out that 10 seconds of silence to make it seem like the conversation was just flowing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There is something about some people know how to use silence really well. There's a show.
Parents, when they're punishing their children.
Yeah, pretty much. There's that.
Very effective.
But in a show manner, like there's a radio show that I used to listen to that is now no longer together anymore. But they just thrived on really just those awkward moments of just making some uncomfortable statements to their guests and just
awkward silences.
Everybody sits there and like marinates and like you can just hear like the guest being like, okay, they just asked me that. Is this a real question? Or are you guys going to say you're joking at any point? And they just sit there and stare at him and wait on him. And I'm just like, oh God, it's so cringy. Ugh, it feels terrible.
I don't like that.
So how do you feel about like Borat? Like when you see like the Ali G show where like he's sitting there and he's absolutely saying the worst things to people, but playing it straight. And they're
I don't like him. I don't think he's funny. I don't know.
You know?
You can say what you want, but I don't think he's funny. I don't find that stuff humorous to me.
I think some of his stuff is funny. I think when he's actually interviewing someone that needs to be called out and he's like calling them out, but in his own little way, like almost like saying their ridiculous things back to them kind of stuff. You know?
I can appreciate that. I can appreciate stuff like that. But it was kind of like that. Did you see that video that I sent to you earlier on TikTok?
Yes.
With Chris Pratt, where they went around what I'm assuming New York or something, and they were like asking people, they're like, oh, this is the #1 man in America right now. And they're like, okay. And they're like, do you know who it is? And they're like, no. And I was like, oh my God. And he was just ragging on people for not knowing who Chris Pratt was. Okay, now that was funny. I did appreciate that.
I like that weird, like on the, man on the street type stuff. So I don't know if you ever watched, there used to be a channel called All Gas No Brakes on YouTube. You've definitely seen clips of his stuff before. It's Andrew Callahan. Now he's on a channel called Channel 5, and he's always in a really like odd looking suit, and he's using a lapel mic as a mic to talk to people at like spring break and stuff like that, or these random events. Like he'll go to like Talladega, but he always goes, and his videos are always really good, but what he really excels at is asking a question. And usually when you ask a question, you're being interviewed by somebody, they want to keep the conversation going, right? So they'll just, once you stop answering your answer, then they kind of pick up. But he just kind of like will leave it there in front of them. They'll like answer the question, and then he'll just like leave it right in their face, and they'll be like, because blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden they just start,
or they keep talking,
word vomiting because they're uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's where that kind of thing works. But yeah, I don't know. I'm comfy here, and yeah, I think most of it has little to do with like me being afraid of the guest, but me just wanting to be, because I'm like that in life, right? Like I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable. I want everybody to be comfortable and hanging out and having a good time. And I don't know, I guess that kind of is where that translates over to. I'm just kind of like, okay, I hope I'm good to them, because I feel like,
I feel like that translates really well with you being a podcaster, because it's kind of like your home, right? Like you're inviting them into your safe space, and you want to make them feel welcome. You want to make them, you know,
I want them to feel good. I want them to
come over. You want to make them a hot cup of cocoa or something, you know, make them feel good.
Because when you're uncomfortable, you don't want to talk, right? You just want to get it triggers fight or flight. Like it can be like this weird
therapist office where you're like, so how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh.
It makes me feel terrible. Why are we not talking? Why is it silent right now? Just keep talking.
I hear the crickets.
Yeah. So anyway, we're here. I'm glad you're here. And I'm hoping I can make a good episode out of that offline episode. We talked about a lot of stuff. So I'm like, I always run into this problem, and I'm sure you have too, when you're having to edit a lot of content down. You're like, but I love it.
What do I keep?
Right. Yeah. You're like, but I love that.
Is this funny?
Yeah.
Do I keep this part?
Mm-hmm.
Is this crucial to this moment?
Can I Marie Kondo this situation, and does it make me happy? Like, do I feel joy?
I've been so bad about that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when I'm editing videos, I will watch it like 5 or 6 times. Like that's what takes me so long. This is why I just want somebody else to do my work for me, because I think we're our biggest critics, right? Like we critique ourselves more than anybody else is going to critique us. So when I'm like watching this stuff, I'm like, God, that part's so stupid. I'm like, oh, I just made a really stupid face there. Or like, you know what I mean? Like you just critique every little thing.
You're too close to it.
Like, yeah. And then sometimes there's like something funny happens earlier in the video, and you're like, well, do I keep this whole middle piece that connects the two together, or can I like somehow cohesively make them get rid of this, still keep this? It's hard, man.
It's
tough.
I
want somebody else to do it. You need somebody else to look at it and be like, that's not that funny.
Exactly, because you get too close to it, and like you need that impartial judgment, right? Someone who's not married to the content, so to speak. And
sure.
Because I mean, I know this has happened to you. It's happened to me. you'll be watching something back and something might be hilarious to you, but it's an inside joke. And you're like, oh, someone who just finds
Nobody else is going to get it.
Yeah. And it might even be hilarious to the, yeah. And it might even be hilarious to the people that are in your chat at the moment because they know what's going on. But like, just most of the people who find you on YouTube have no idea what Twitch is sometimes. Like, and so they're just kind of like, well, what are they even talking about? Like, why is that funny? Why is that even in this video? And, I get too close to my content. That's why I've got like podcasts that are 3 hours long and I can't trim any of it.
I feel like podcasts would be harder though, right? Because you have that ebb and flow of a conversation.
Yeah, you cut something out and like, it gets weird.
In the offline one, we circled back to topics. So it's like, do you get rid of this in the beginning because this at the end is not going to make sense if you do that? You know what I mean?
I have a theory. I'm going to trim about 30 seconds off that that whole thing.
Okay.
I'm going to just trim 30 seconds out. No, I'm just kidding. It's
I want to challenge you to remove 2 minutes. No.
2 whole minutes.
Really, Marie Kondo that. Yeah.
Here's what I need you to work on this week, and when we get together next week.
When we get to next week.
I need you to storyboard that. Yeah, it's tough. Like, because like you said, we circled around to a lot of things, and I said, oh, and we're circling back to what we talked about earlier. And if I cut that out of there,
like if you have, yeah. You can't cut that out now. People are like, wait a minute, did I miss something? Maybe, oh, you know what? Maybe that's the catch. Maybe that's the secret to everything, Lopez. You just need to add that into your conversation, because then if somebody thinks they missed something on a topic they want to hear, they're just going to go back.
Yeah.
It's just more minutes listened. It's kind of a win-win, really.
Yeah, just fuck with your audience. You're going to grow beyond belief.
Worst case scenario, they leave a comment down below.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know where you talked about this conversation. Engagement.
Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? Just leave that at the end of your videos. Do you have any questions? Did I mislead you in any way? Comment below.
Comment below.
Oh, yeah. It's podcast is tough because it's tough and it's easy, right? It's easy because you can just hit record and just talk. And it's tough because it's hard to, especially when you've been talking for 2-3 hours, it's hard to know that the wind has gone out of the sails, so to speak. Because sometimes you can be at the end and you'll be in the last like 10, 15 minutes and you're just like, yeah. And the other person's like, mm-hmm. And
you're like, so.
Yeah. You got to know when to punch out. You got to know when to punch out, and it's tough to do. That's why those structured podcasts do so well, is because they literally are just like, we're in.
Fill every gap.
Right. Here's what we're talking about today. Here's the topic. They might have a little bit of chitter chatter before, and then they get into it, and then 30 minutes is over and they're done. And that's professional.
I was going to say, that's how good people work. But
yeah. And
we're not good people.
These people have teams.
Just wing it.
We're terrible people, is what I'm saying. Why are you here? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to kind of to parse that out, because you do just get so close to, you just get to having a good time. And I don't know. I
think the good thing about podcasts is just recording these moments in conversation, right? Like, I think so much nowadays that we're just sitting on our phones, and God, when I was younger, I would talk on the phone for hours with my friends. Just about nothing. Just walking around the house, doing chores, just talking about nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now the phone rings and I'm like,
they'll leave a message.
I don't really want to talk to this person.
If it's important, they'll text me.
I gotta talk on the phone to people.
Yeah.
I think we're just living in this digital world now. We're like, or even when we were younger, you couldn't get a hold of your friend. You show up at their damn house. Why aren't you answering my calls? Their parents are like, oh, so-and-so's here. Come in.
Is your phone working? Yeah, it's been working.
Now you show up at someone's house. They're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think podcasts and these conversations are very important, because I just don't think people sit down anymore and have conversations like this. It's so sad to say, but it's true.
Well, and even in kind of the stuff that we do on the Twitch side of things, it's a very one-sided, right? Like it's there, you do have stuff coming back at you, but it's not a real conversation, right? You're just kind of yelling things out, responding to a couple things. Yeah. The fuck is that? No one's there. No one's there.
Or like sometimes these are my favorite moments where like something amazing rarely ever happens in a game. You know what I mean? Like that you've played for 3,000 hours, but like something happens. I'm like, oh my God, did you see that? And chat's just silent. You're like, no, nobody. Come on.
I guess I'll go fuck myself.
People here are like, why is nobody saying anything? This is incredible. Like you get so worked up and it's just like, there's nothing to work with. And you're like, oh my God. Okay, well.
It's always the moments you don't expect to blow up, right? Like you're just kind of like, oh, you just do some like weird.
You spill a LaCroix on your keyboard. It's the best thing that's ever happened to you. Like everybody notices that. You actually do a feat that's nearly impossible, and everybody's just like, "What?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say something?
Yeah.
Oh, good job."
But yeah, okay. You accidentally fall to your death in a game, and then everybody's there to see it. They're like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
10,000 clips made.
GG.
So embarrassing. Gamer girl can't play games. Yeah. Headlines.
What are you doing? Why are you even here? So I've been kind of, I mean, I know we've been going for a little while, but I've been kind of starting these out with a question. And that question is, what's on your mind? What's been on your mind in general?
Do you know the last time somebody's ever asked me that?
I don't know. When? How long?
I don't know. Never. I don't know. It's been forever. You just don't have these conversations with people. It's usually like, what's up?
What's going on?
It's never like, what's on your mind? I don't know, man. I don't know what's on my mind. Mostly work. Work is usually always on my mind.
You're working hard.
I work a lot. Yeah. And I think I need to learn to work smarter and not harder. And we've had this conversation before, but I think it's getting to the point where I really need to take it seriously.
Well,
that burnout, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, just become. I always take those opportunities, like, because I think you and I and our friends have always shared that. Like, I'm feeling it. Like, I'm feeling like so. I don't know, fidgety about things. Like, I'm not happy with where with what I'm doing, and I want to do something different. And I think that's just the mind being like, all right, it's time to change things up. Like it's the mind not letting you kind of just accept, all right, this is fine. This is all good. Like it's almost challenging yourself to do it. And not everybody has that. I think some people just would rather just sit there and do what they've been doing forever.
I think I've just spent the last year and a half just so focused on making this new job of mine work out that now I have a hard time disconnecting from it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like when I'm not working, I'm thinking about working. And I know a lot of people do that. Like when you have a job that you're very involved in, it's when you're not at work, you're thinking about it. And I think I gotta get to this point. I gotta find a disconnect from it. You know what I mean? But it's hard to do when I work at home and then everything I do is here at home. If I were to go to an office or to a retail store or a restaurant where I'm working, you have that separation, right? You walk in the door, work. You walk out the door, home. You have that break and that separation. I don't. I get up, I walk across my hallway, and I go to work. And then in the evening, Eric likes to play games when he gets home because he doesn't get to do that, right? That's his escape for the day. So I just hang out in here to spend time with him. But then what am I instead of playing a game that I want to play, I just work. I just work more.
Well, and you're in a situation too where and my wife's been in the situation too where your work and play area are the same space.
Yes.
So
So when you finally go to your play area, you think, I got to work.
Yeah, you can't just turn that off, right?
Turn it off. No, it's really hard. So there's a disconnect. I've been trying to focus myself on like different projects, right? Like now that I'm home a lot, I've been doing a lot of like decluttering.
Mm-hmm.
I find that when I'm getting older now, I just don't want anything.
Yeah.
Like I had all of this stuff that I was collecting before, but now I'm like, why? Why did I have this?
It's like the opposite of a retirement plan, right? You want to set yourself up to where by the time you're old and decrepit, you've got like a couple of things, you know? I've got my keyboard, you're just like standing there like,
I'm kind of like, why do I have all this stuff? Like, I don't use it. All I do is I play computer games and I, cook some food or something like this. Why do I have all of this stuff? I don't want it.
I've got so much stuff like that. I got a lot of memorabilia stuff, like just.
Why do we hold on to that stuff?
I think in a way, some people need it. Like not like need it.
I need this Funko Pop.
Not need it to live, but it's like one of those things where you're kind of like, I don't know. It's like little displays of your personality and no one ever sees it. Like no one's ever down here in this studio. Like no one ever comes down here.
I know. And that's the thing, Lopez, I have so much stuff. Like I have a dining room table that seats 8 people. I've never had anybody over for dinner. 2 of us.
You both sit at
never had anybody over for dinner
at each end of a long table, like in the old Batman movie, like where he's like, "Could you pass the salt?"
Yeah, it's so bad. Like, why do we have this stuff? I probably have like 40 bottles of wine. I don't drink wine anymore. I have like 100 wine glasses. I don't drink wine anymore. Why do I have these things? I don't know.
You should start drinking like your tea and your water out of them, just for the hell of it. Just have it on stream. And just be like, oh yes, very nice.
What are you drinking? Oh, it's my tea. It's my
fancy
LaCroix.
Mm-hmm. This is
I should look really bougie.
This is Orange LaCroix.
Orange, yeah. Indubitably.
Yes, Orange LaCroix. I don't know. Like, I feel like the little memorabilia stuff is more important than an 8-seated dining room table. Like, I feel like it does more for your mental, right? To be like,
sure,
I like this stuff. Like, it's a representation of me, and maybe no one will ever see it, but I like looking at it.
Like that. Yeah. Where I really like this little thing or whatever. But now I find that now that I'm getting older, like I just get so much more excited about other things. Like I really want to remodel my kitchen. Like that's my obsession right now.
I think that falls right into our age group because we're kind of in that situation too. I think that
is my obsession right now.
To improve the dwelling.
I've just been like, oh man, you ever go down Pinterest lane? You ever just take a stroll down that app?
I've been forced by gunpoint down that lane a few times. Look at this one. Uh-huh.
Oh, look at this.
Take a look.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine Chris really liking that app for sure.
Yeah.
But like, man, you just type in like, Navy kitchen and just all your wildest dreams come true.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, yes, that could be me. That could be mine. That could be mine. And now I've been obsessing over it. So I guess that's what's been on my mind, Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
Navy kitchen with gold hardware and an island with the white marble with the gold flecks in it.
I was like, yeah, I would love a Navy kitchen out of Tuscany.
Tile. I've really gone down this. Okay. The ranch sink with no divider in the middle. I swear to God, if there's a divider in the middle, it's ruined.
Yes.
The whole kitchen's ruined.
I want it to be like a small bathtub in the middle of my counter.
Clawfoot tub.
Right. Just set on the...
I don't need a dining room. I need a clawfoot tub.
Just to do my dishes in.
Just to relax at the end of the day to unwind. Yeah. Those are the dreams. That's what's been on my mind.
I think that's pretty normal.
You think so?
I think so for people.
Comment down below. I want to know your age group, and I want to know when you start getting excited about kitchen stuff, because
They're like, I'll be excited when I can afford a house.
True.
When I can move out of an apartment.
True. I mean, you can still dream about these things,
Sure.
though, right? Like, man, this obsession. Like, I don't know. Just getting excited about, like, because can I say this? Is it the toaster oven? Like,
Oh yeah,
you just got a toaster oven with the air fryer. Like, that's exciting, right?
dude, I've done so many things with it. It's amazing.
Oh my God. Have you done the takeout French fries? Because that's.
I have reheated pizza. In it.
Once you get your takeout, right? Like, whenever you get home, the fries, they're like soggy. They're never as good. Man, you just pop those babies in there for 5 minutes and it's like, oh, sweet baby potato. It's just
Crispy goodness.
It's perfect.
It's so good.
Perfect. It's just it just brings a tear to your eye. The French fries are just so good again. And it's just so wonderful.
Yeah. It's that kind of stuff is nice. And I think that's just, I don't know. It's funny because you'll be scrolling, like, I don't know if you follow 30AF on Instagram. They always, it's just people reposting other people's stuff. They give them credit and everything. But 30AF.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother. I like how you added that into there.
Right. 30AF, and it's just like all these things where you're just kind of like, it's that whole thing. I hate using the phrase, but it's that whole, like, I feel seen. Like, I feel like they just
feel seen.
Reached out and ripped my soul out with that post. But yeah, no, I think it absolutely has everything to do with, I think everybody that in our age that has a house is doing the same thing right now.
Is this like a normal phase that you go through though? Like, you just, I imagine it is though, right? Like, once you get into a new space, like, you're just looking at the same space, right? Like, I think us as humans kind of just crave something different sometimes.
Here's the real question when it comes to that. You work from home. My wife works from home.
Sure. Yeah.
Your husband works at an office or on site somewhere else, right? I work in an office. How into these projects is he?
Don't look at me like that.
Not as much as you. I'm going to venture to guess.
No, he's very interested, actually. Mostly because he's a chef, right?
Sure.
So it would make sense that he would want a nice space for the kitchen. Here's the issue that we're dealing with, right? I know this isn't very podcast worthy, but maybe somebody can relate. Sure. The kitchen is very small. Mm-hmm. It's actually, no, I lied. The counter space is very small. There we go. There's not a lot of counter space. The kitchen itself is very large. Like, it's just a big ass open space. Like, there's room for like an 8-seater table in there, but it's not there. It's in the basement because nobody ever comes over.
Right.
So we have plans to add like an entire wall of cabinets with extra counter space for like a coffee bar and stuff, and an island. Like, there's room for an island where, you can throw a couple seats and stuff and there's still going to be room to walk around. So I think he's actually pretty excited for it. He's not excited for the planning because he hates planning. Mm. He usually leaves the planning to me, and it's usually like, which one do you like, this one or this one? And he's usually like, yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
You didn't even look like,
I guess what I'm thinking is, like, it's more indicative of the people who have to be at the location more, right? Because you're having to look at it way more than he does because he's gone to work during the day, all day.
I think we all just want like a space that we're proud of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the space that we're in is kind of dated. I shouldn't say that because it's like built in the 90s, but it's dated. You know what I mean? Like, it's original to the house. Like, it has like I don't know what it is. I don't linoleum top. Is that a thing? I don't even know.
Like a laminate top?
Sure. Yeah. Let's go with laminate. It's like this like gray with like blue speckles and stuff in it. It's not great. Okay.
And it has particle board under it. Like, if you were to chip it off. Okay. Yeah. It's one of those like countertops that everyone had at some point.
Sure. It's pretty dated, right? Not saying that like I need granite or anything like that, because I don't, but like, you know, it's been through a few families, and
Sure.
you can tell there's like a couple stains on like one side or whatever that I usually just hide with like the dish rack or whatever. But yeah, and I think we're starting to find out that like the house wasn't built by the top brass, you know? Like,
Sure.
some corners were cut here and there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think some things need to be redone so
Right.
that they're up to code. Kind of like we bought last year, right? For Christmas time. Yeah.
Yes.
What are we going to get each other for Christmas? Well, we wanted a new refrigerator, right? So we bought a new refrigerator. I measured everything, man. Like I measured like 10 times that space, found a fridge, and I'm like, sweet, I've got 2 inches of room, you know? So I got like an inch on either side. It's going to be perfect. I measured so many times. But did I measure all the way down to the floor? Like, did I measure like 10 different times in different spaces? No, because I didn't expect my wall to be crooked. So now my fridge doesn't fit.
It just looks like it's sitting sideways when it's not. It's just like a little tilted.
I like removed the baseboard around the bottom, because I'm like, that'll give me enough, a little extra space, right? Still not enough. Like, it's just like sticking out so far from the counters. So now it's kind of like, well, guess I gotta redo the whole kitchen. Fit the refrigerator in here.
Yeah, we're in that situation with our kitchen where it's like, and I had a friend that had this happen where they delivered his fridge, and it was comedically too big for his kitchen. It looked like someone took like giant furniture and set it in a small room. Where he opens up the doors and like he's up against his other counter.
Oh no!
Like, he got to open it and swing.
Measure, or just did he not realize?
I think everything, like the height and the width were measured, but like the depth was kind of left out of the mix. So like,
this fridge would have fit perfect if it would have,
been,
fit between the crooked wall or maybe the countertop is crooked. I don't know, because it looked like they like cut off, Something's not right either way. So we got to redo our whole kitchen now because the fridge doesn't fit.
This is I don't know. It is a weird thing to kind of be like obsessed with, but like not at the same time, right? To want to like improve your space, because like you could be in a worse space, but you're like, but this could be better. I get it.
The space is fine the way it is, honestly. Like it's fine, it's functional, but I don't know. I think you're right. You're right. I'm in the space so much that like I look at it so much that I just am not really. You can just tell that it was like DIY,
Yeah.
Some chick was really excited to do like half white cabinets with half blue cabinets and then paint the wall piss yellow. Like, like it's like, why was this your choice in color? Yep. I just like cannot handle. We have talked about this since I moved into this house, that piss yellow wall. Like I cannot stare at this color anymore, Lopez. It's so bad. It's so bad. Like why? Like everything else in the house is pretty much like gray. Which gray and yellow usually go great together, right? But not when it's this like pale baby chick yellow.
Right.
With like white and gray and like this weird medium blue. It's just awful. It's awful.
Yeah. And
I hate it. I think I just hate it so much that I'm just obsessing over it.
It's funny because like I've definitely pictured my wife. And I can picture you doing the same thing. Like I just picture it being quiet in the house. And you're sitting there.
It's my coffee in the morning.
And you're just like, and all of a sudden you take a sip and you go, what the fuck is that?
Why would you choose that color? Like what was going through your mind that you painted half the house that color?
That's at a 45-degree angle. What the fuck is that? Like, you just see these details that you just.
She's probably worse about it because she does like insurance and stuff, right? She picks up on these like that should not be like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, she can be like she can see something and be like, yeah, that needs to be replaced. That's not good.
That's not good.
we definitely have pulled up to houses before, and she's like, "Oh, they need their roof replaced." And I'm like, "Oh shit, oh shit." You gonna tell them that? She'll be like, "Shut up."
Or like when we went to the cabin, she like walked in like literally 30 minutes later. She was like, "Oh my god,
there's water damage.
There's water damage upstairs." I was like, "Oh, there's some in the bedroom too."
Because she just naturally just looks in those corners. You're like, water's coming in up there. I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, I think it has a lot to do with that. If you're around something a ton, like you just want to see it. My fear would be you do this change, right? You make all these renovations and stuff. And then like either you don't like them.
Don't put this in my mind. Don't put this in my mind.
You don't like them, or
stop it.
You get tired of them really quick. You're like,
that's another thing too, right? Do you go bold? Do you like make a statement piece, or do you just go
safe,
boring and neutral?
The safe route.
Just cut in case you need to resell.
Mm-hmm. It depends on the intention. Like we definitely have projects that are like, is this worth doing? Like, because so we'll be like, we want to do this thing, and I'm like, okay, is it feasible? Like we'll look at the cost and be like, all right, if we're going to be moving out anytime before 10 years, no. If we're going to be here longer than, sure.
But I think kitchen is like one of those things that always carries over, right?
Yeah. Kitchens, yeah.
Bathrooms, kitchens, probably not laundry rooms, which I need to do. Probably not that, but that's this kind of stuff that'll at least help the house, you know?
Right.
It's going to help you more than it's going to hurt you.
So now that we've bored everybody to tears with our dreams about our houses.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll tell you what's been on my mind.
Tell me.
I didn't think, and we're not going to get political about it, but I never thought I'd be like the go vote guy. Does that make sense? I never thought like, please go vote. Like, get the fuck out there.
I know exactly how you feel.
Because I used to not give a shit. I actively told people not to vote when I was in radio.
I was always really?
Yeah, I was like,
you're like talking to thousands of people and you're like, forget about it.
I was like, Lopez says don't vote. Like I had a whole like Uncle Sam like don't vote, like a whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. I'm learning so much about you.
But the stakes didn't feel that high then. They just didn't.
They don't. No. I think also you just have that when you're younger, you don't have that grasp about, you know, how everything works or why your healthcare matters or why, you know, like why certain things matter more than others. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I just don't think that you have that much of an impact when you're younger because you've never had to deal with it and you don't have a grasp for it. Now that we have a grasp for it, I think it matters a lot more. And I think you just don't want a bad person being in control.
Yeah.
You know?
There's that. And it's like just understanding the gravity of it all, right? Like there's sure. Like I think about it now, like just in terms of my kid, right? Like it'll be so many years. Huge. It'll be so many years like before she understands the gravity of even paying bills, right? Like, so it's all that. And I think that when you're young, politics is so boring and just you're like, that's adult stuff. That's Wall Street Journal stuff. Who reads that shit? Too many words. I don't know. It's just, I just never thought I'd be like telling people to go vote.
Do you find that now, this is kind of weird, now that you do go and vote and you're kind of that guy, do you find now that you're kind of judgy to the people who aren't voting?
No.
Okay. That's good.
I'm not. I could see where I could get to that point, but I'm just kind of like, I don't get mad because I know I was that person at one point, you know, and it wasn't that long ago. Like,
I know
it really
a couple years ago.
Yeah. Like,
let's see,
2020 was the first presidential election I ever voted in.
I think that was mine first one too, if I'm being completely honest.
I had never voted on anything prior to that.
Same.
Was it 2020 or was it 2016?
Do you think that it's also, I don't know, especially this voting, for me, I thought it was the most important mostly because of the women's rights thing.
Yes.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was, I felt like as a woman and as someone who, although I don't have children of my own, a lot of my friends do, and a lot of them are girls. And I don't want them growing up in a place where they have less rights than we do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. I don't think that a bunch of old men running the country should have the ability to tell me what I can and cannot do with my body, or what anybody can and cannot do with their body. I think that's very wrong. So I think that's why this year, to me, it was so important.
I've always been not a big fan. I've always been not a big fan of people putting themselves in a position to give a shit about things that have nothing to do with them.
Or just trying to dictate how other people live their lives.
Right. So in high school and early college, it was growing up in the South is very much like I really don't like pushy religious people. That really bugs me. Because sure. I know personally a lot of people that were affected in a very terrible way by that, you know? Yeah. And just because they were like, you know, they were just kind of put in a situation where people they were supposed to love them and care about them were really hard on them about that kind of stuff. And I hate seeing that. I hate that people have to go through that, you know? We're just kind of like,
seen that as well.
You know, like people that not exactly disowned, but they're definitely not well liked in their own family, you know?
And it's just unnecessary stress too. You know what I mean? Like, just let people live their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's that easy. Is it bothering you? No, it's not. Oh. You think it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like, just let them live their lives the way that they want to live their lives. I just don't understand.
Well, yeah, and just the fact that like you can have so much of a problem about two people wanting to get married, regardless of what their gender is. Like, yeah, why does it matter? But it does to some people. They just, my country's falling apart. You know, it's like, no, your little, the idea of what you have as your country in your head is falling apart, and it's all your problem. It's all your fucking problem. Sure.
You know, a big thing about this, like, we're going back to the social media thing. Mm-hmm. Social media is just, it's so big, but like, people just take everything that they see online now and they just take it for gospel. Like, yeah. It's like that person was cooking meth in high school and you're taking their word for it right now. Like, that is not a credential. Okay. Like, that is not a valid source of information. All right.
Right.
Like, we cannot listen to what this guy is saying, but it's bad. Like, this is where people are getting their information. And I think this is what fuels a lot of these people, because when we were younger, right? Like, if you wanted information, you had to spend 30 minutes on dial-up and you were going to wait there for one question from Ask Jeeves. All right. Mm-hmm. Like, now anybody can go online and they can find somebody who has the same twisted view as they do on TikTok or whatever. And then they feel like a sense that, how do I say this?
They feel
validated. They feel validated
yes.
in their feelings because somebody else feels that same way too. And it's so much easier now in the world that we live in to find people who feel there's got to be somebody, there's going to be some nut job that feels the same way as you do. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like, they're there. But I mean, it doesn't make it right, but it's a lot easier for people to feel validated. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from now.
Yeah. Confirmation
that's
bias.
where a lot of the crazy comes from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That confirmation bias. Like if there's just anyone that has any slight difference in belief, they're going to be able to find someone who agrees with them, because we're all connected, and it's cool in some ways, because like us and our friends, we're able to get together and hang out and play games and all that stuff. Like, I feel like that's more of a picture of what the internet was supposed to be, like bringing people together,
Chat rooms, right? Chat rooms was a big thing.
Yeah. Oh, that didn't last long, did it?
No, it did not.
No. It didn't take long. Like, did you ever you did the AOL thing, right? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you got into some of those AOL chat rooms. Like,
oh yeah.
It didn't take long.
Been there.
Right.
Shouldn't have been there.
No, it didn't take long for people to be like, how can I work this to my horniness? Like, how age, sex, location, ASL,
That's it. All you needed to know. We always pretended to be somebody else that we weren't, just for the entertainment factor.
Not even to protect yourself, just because you wanted to fuck with people.
Just to mess with people. Yeah, when we were kids. We were like 14 in AOL chat room, which is just probably full of all predators, let's be real.
Yeah. 31 female Missouri.
Just messing with people. Just messing with people as kids, which is probably the best case scenario for what happened. But I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how we're not dead. Like our generation, the stuff that we did as kids, and I'm sure you can relate. You did some questionable things. You snuck out at night. You went camping in some weird woods area with some people you don't know or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how we're not dead. I talk about this with my girlfriend all the time. Like, the stuff that we did would just not fly now.
Yeah, dude. There were times. So there's just one time I got one similar to that. Right.
Okay.
I had this group of friends that I kind of roamed with in late middle school, early high school. And they were kind of the ones that introduced me to pot and all that stuff. And I was like, it was a Halloween night. And I think we were going to go
graveyard. Just kidding.
Everyone was going to go to this haunted house. And I was like, cool. And they were like, we're going to get high before we go. And I was like, all right.
Sure. Naturally.
So I'm just kind of along for the ride. I'm not driving yet, so I'm along for the ride with the one dude that could drive, like, that was just, for some reason, all the people he was hanging out with were like 3 years younger than him. That guy.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Everybody's 14, 15, and he's like 17, 18, right?
18. Yep.
Because no one his age would put up with his bullshit.
Tag that guy in the comments below. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Comment below on your story.
Tag that guy.
And we ended up over at this house, and I knew where we were at. We were in my hometown, but I just never been to this someone's house I didn't know. It was one of those big old houses, and they had like one of those garages. You ever been in a garage where like clearly no work goes on in this garage, right? It's literally just like every time you walk in, there's just a circle of folding chairs where people just sit around and bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
it's the dad garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the dad cave.
And we proceed to smoke up. And I have never been really good with pot. Never. I dabble, but I've never been a good high person. Like, I need to be in really comfortable, familiar surroundings. And if I'm not there, I don't do well mentally, right? And it's all inside my head. Like, I'm not freaking out, like being like, you got to get me out of here, man. I'm just kind of sitting there like in dread,
Like the anxiety just creeping up and setting in.
Yeah. And time slows.
Having an internal panic attack with yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
And time slows way, 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 way down for me when I'm in that state, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you're panicking. That's why it's lasting. It feels like it's lasting longer because you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, immediately I realize this isn't going to go well. And we're all sitting there around and it's like, so the circle is like a few of my friends and then all these people, other people that were older that I didn't know. And then I look over at one point and all my friends are gone. And I'm still sitting in this garage with all these people I don't know. And it's weird because they don't know me, so no one's interacting with me, but I'm still sitting there.
Awkwardly, but like you're too high to do anything, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I'm looking at this clock. There's this digital clock out there on like the workbench or something like that. The workbench that nothing happens on. And I'm looking and I'm like, all right, it's 8:59. And then I swear to Christ, it goes 8:58. Like it went backwards. And I was like,
it's like the TV shows.
yeah. I was like, all right, wait a minute.
Wait.
And then that kind of set me off. And I was kind of like,
Freaking out, man.
I leave the garage. I make my way back to the house. I go inside.
That was the last straw.
I'm looking around and I'm like, where the fuck is everyone at? And I go out front. My friends are gone.
No.
They left me there. And I was like, all right, this is not fun. No cell phones. No cell phones.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not cell phone time.
Cell phone time.
This is time to go to someone's house and knock on a door, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I got in touch with them, but they ended up coming back to get me. But it felt like I was in that house and it was like,
Did they just remember that they forgot you and came back, or did you actually have to like call somebody?
I think so. Or they ended up going back to one of my friends' houses and I picked up an actual phone and called because you had phone numbers in your head, right?
Right. You knew 100 phone numbers.
Yeah. I think what happened is the older guy that was driving everyone around was like, we're getting the fuck out of here. You know, just like, we're going to go to the haunted house.
They just didn't get you. Like, they just didn't remember. Oh my God.
I think they were that
so
high.
Mad.
I wasn't happy.
I would have been so mad.
But I was also super insecure at that point. So I was just kind of like,
I can't say that
friends.
hasn't happened to me though.
Mm.
I lost my car one time.
What?
You want a high story? I'll tell you a high story.
Sure.
So it was so dumb too. So I drove to the coffee shop with my roommate. We went and grabbed a coffee, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of like where everybody showed up. It's a really small town. So everybody knew everybody. You know what I mean? Like I'd just hang out at the coffee shop and somebody would show up and then we'd go hang out. Sure. Right. So my friend Courtney and I, whenever we hung out, she would always drive. Like she was the driver. She just had a nicer car and you know what I mean? She liked to drive. So whenever we did something, she would do the driving. So my friend and I got super baked and we went to the coffee shop. I'm like, I'm just going to hang out at the coffee shop and have a coffee and, you know, freaking scone or something. I don't know. And just chill and see who comes around. Well, my friend Courtney showed up. And I was like, hey, like, we should go do something. She's like, okay. So, like, we spent the entire day together. And we hung out with a few people. And we just, like, all the people we were hanging out with at the time were just smoked. You know what I mean? So we were just getting baked all day. And then at the end of the day, she drives me home and drops me off. Well, the next morning, my roommate was like, can you give me a ride to work? He worked at that coffee shop. I was like, yeah, man, sure. And I literally had this moment where I walked outside and I'm like, where's my car?
Dude, where's my car?
And he was like, where's your car, dude? I was like, I literally had a pan. I thought somebody stole my car. I was like, somebody stole my freaking car. And then I realized I drove to the coffee shop and Courtney drove us all day like normal and then just dropped me off at home and didn't drop me off in my car.
Oh,
so
God.
I thought I just drove home. But then when I got up in the morning, my car wasn't there.
I've definitely had, when I started, I was a late drinker, right? I was late to the drinking game. Mm-hmm. I just never really did anything for me when I was younger. But so I started drinking kind of like.
I was late to the high gang.
Yeah.
I didn't smoke until like my 20s. But I did drink.
Yeah. And I don't know what's worse, honestly, because I feel like it's a little more controlled chaos when it's drinking. Like it can't, like it can be out of hand for sure, but you can definitely do a lot more drinking than you can
I feel
high.
like when you're younger and you're drinking, though, you tend to stay put, right? Because, like, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
So
You got a home base.
Right. You're confined to one location when you're drinking when you're younger, when you're underage, because you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
We did have a really bad experience one time, though, with that. I think I was like 17, maybe. Yeah, probably 17. And we were drinking and we ran out of mixers. And this was like in a little downtown area. And there was a 7-Eleven like 3 blocks away. So we're like, screw it, let's just walk to 7-Eleven.
Oh, God.
And let's go grab some mixers, right? So me and my girlfriend, we get there and there was a couple guys there that we knew that were like walking in. We're like, oh, hey, blah, 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 whatever, talking to them. And we all kind of like walk in together. And as we walk in, this guy has a thing of beers, punches the cashier in the face, grabs the cash out of the register, and runs out the door. And we were like, oh no. So the 2 guys that we knew bolted out the door after this guy to try to catch him. And the guy, the poor guy at the register had glasses on. So like one of his fucking lenses were broken and everything. So he called the police and he's just like, everybody is in here. You're staying here. Like, you need to talk to the police about what just happened. And me and my girlfriend were 17 and drunk off of our asses at the time. We're like, oh no.
Yeah. Oh.
That moment where we were like, it was in that moment we knew we fucked up. Like, we went to that 7-Eleven to get the mixers for everybody. And we just got caught in a robbery. And we had to stand there to talk to the police. Luckily, we told the guy, like, because it was happening, like, the moment we walked in, and the 2 guys that we knew walked in before us, we were like, hey, man, we didn't see anything. Like, we walked in afterwards. Like, I don't know what you want us to tell. But, like, he was so confuzzled that he was like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. You can go. And we were like, okay, man, like, sorry, everything works out for you. Luckily, we were able to get out of that situation. Like, because otherwise we would have just been, we were very drunk. So there's no way those police officers wouldn't have known.
On your way out the door, where you're like, do you have any cranberry juice?
We did get the Pepsi.
I just need a soda.
We did get the Pepsi. We just handed the guy. We just took the Pepsi. We handed him a 5 and we left.
Oh God. That's hilarious. Yeah. I don't know. Like, it just, I think that when it comes to, especially my heavier drinking days, I had way too many of those, like, waking up being like, all right, how did I get here? Like, not uncountable, but I definitely had quite a few where I was like, I went a little too hard last night.
Like, you just don't remember how you ended up where you were sleeping at the time.
Right. And that sometimes that was home, right? Like, the last thing I remember, I'm just at the bar.
How did I get back into my bed? Yeah, I never had those, unfortunately. I mean, luckily. Why did I say unfortunately? Luckily.
I didn't have the bender days.
I was always the friend that I knew when to stop. Yeah. Okay. Like, I would have a few and I would get to the point where I was feeling a certain way. And then I'd be like, this is where we end. This is where I stop. Mm-hmm. I was always very good about doing that. I think I've only had like 3 hangovers in my life.
Oh, you're lucky.
I think I've only thrown up from drinking those 3 hangovers. Those 3 hangovers. Those are the 3 that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I never had that issue, but my friends, on the other hand, that was a completely different story. I was always the friend that had to be like keeping people together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were the wrangler.
I was. Yeah.
The wrangler. It's an important role to have in a group of friends. In any expedition, you need the wrangler.
Wrangler. What would we call you? What would your position be?
The wanderer? I don't know. Like,
the wanderer. Oh.
I wasn't as bad as some of my friends, though. We had some Irish goodbye friends that would just peace out. Oh, have you heard of that before with the Irish goodbye?
No, what is that?
When people are like, "I'll be right back," and then you don't see them the rest, they're
back.
gone. That's the Irish goodbye, right? I'm running to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Oh,
and they were just gone, and you didn't. They were just like, you're like, dude, where the fuck did he go? And there was like, it takes everyone like an hour and a half to realize the person never came back from saying "be right back."
We had that happen one time. There was like, but I didn't know the guy. It was like at a party. It was one of those parties in the downtown place.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up like he was a friend of a friend, and then like, he just like disappeared. But like it became like a big thing, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh my God, where did he go?" Because it was a pretty small apartment. So like, and it was a whole downtown area. So they could have gone anywhere, but luckily I didn't have friends. I didn't have a wanderer in our group.
Yeah, I didn't wander too bad. I don't know. I had fun, but I look back on it, and I shouldn't look back on it and think about a lot of wasted time. You know what I'm saying? Like I think about a lot of, like, I had a good time, but it wasn't productive.
You remember it though, right? Like
sometimes. But no.
Like, these are memories, right? Like these, I haven't thought about that 7-Eleven robbery in forever. Like I clearly have never forgotten that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a funny story now. It was not a funny story at the time.
Oh,
it could have been a lot of trouble.
Sure. Well, and who knows what would happen if you'd been there 3 minutes before, you know? Like, people are weird and unstable, man.
Pretty sure that guy got away with a 30-pack of beer and a handful of cash out of that cash register.
Some people, that's important, I guess.
He just like went. It was a move too, man. I feel like this guy had done it before.
Oh yeah.
Because like we saw him, like he put it on the counter. He like went to go hand him the cash. He opened the register.
Boom. He was already winding up, ready to go.
He was already there. Yeah. Yeah. Grabbed it and ran with both.
That's why we can't have nice things, right?
This is why we can't have nice things.
That's why I got to talk to anybody at a convenience store now through a window.
Damn, you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
I don't know though. Like, I don't want to say it was unproductive time. Like, I had good times and it was good memories with friends and stuff like that. But I could have had just as much fun and been working on other things, I guess. But see,
we talked about this before. Like, you can't do that.
I know.
Like, you can't do the shoulda, woulda, coulda thing.
Yeah.
It's because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's in the past. Like, you just have to. I think that's something that like a lot of people hold on to. Like, I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, well, I can't, you know, like I just did this and I did that too much and blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What is done is done. Like, sure, maybe you hurt somebody in the process. Maybe you hurt somebody's feelings or you lost a job or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, all that matters is like right now and what you're going to do about it.
The cards you've got.
You got to play the hand you are dealt.
Yeah. I'm really like, even my wife will say I'm pretty bad about being like, if I had just done this, you know, like I'm
human to do that though. I'm very much that person.
But it's also just as human to have so many, like, there's extreme levels of doing it to yourself. I think some people do it in a healthy way where it's kind of like, that sucks. That could have gone better. Right.
I do that sometimes where I'll go down a rabbit hole, but then I'm like, I have to pull myself out. Like, it's kind of like those things like, okay, we need to stop thinking about this anymore because it's not doing us any favors. Yeah.
I'm much better about it than I used to be. I'm still bad about it sometimes. I'll get in my head. I'm really bad about getting in my head. And two, there's different triggers for it, right? Like, could be music, could be a movie, could be like all the stuff. And so episode 383, I had my buddy Tyler on, and he's an author, and I was asking him what was been going on with him, and I did the kind of what's on your mind thing, and it came up like, he was like, oh, I've been, I did some therapy and blah, blah, and all this stuff. And he's like, I realized the things I needed to just kind of avoid, like, like certain music, certain, reading certain things and stuff like that, because he's one of those people that gets in his own head too. If he's got,
do you think that's why we become so reclusive when we become older. Like, maybe that's a bad word, but you know what I mean? Like, is that why we become so closed off? Because we've just had those experiences with those people, or
I think it's
that you're just like, now your brain just sends you that red flag where you're like, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to deal with that. Like most of the things that you come in contact now these days, you're just like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, like if I don't have to go out at night to go shopping for something,
sure,
I am not going to do it. Like it feels like I'm to the point in my life right now where it feels weird to be driving my car at night. Does that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like,
go anywhere at night.
It doesn't happen that often. And it's usually because we have to go see family that's somewhere far away and we're coming back at night or something like that. But driving around my town to go do things like get something from a grocery store or go to Target.
It's weird how that changes though, right? Like when I was younger, it would be like, all right, I got to go home. I got to get changed. I'm going to go out. We're going to do this. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, I got to do this, this, and this after work. And then I get to go home because at that point, once I am home, I am done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it has changed completely. If I make it home, that's it. I'm done. Which, spoiler alert, I'm always home now because I work from home. So I am just done all the time.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm making it over to that couch.
I am going to the couch. That is what's happening. I am going to leave this room for the first time in 12 hours.
I think there's also an attachment to what we were talking about stuff earlier, right? Clutter and stuff like that, where it's like, I think you build your little nest, right? And then you're like, why do I need to leave? I've got a full studio here. I've got more video games than I can, count. And I've got all the comforts. It's all the comforts, and I don't need to leave here and go out and do stuff. Like it becomes, there is definitely a line where it becomes, I wish we had something to go out and do, to I never want to go do anything ever again. Right? And it's not gradual. It just happens.
Yeah.
Not that we don't go do like we'll go. Again, I like to go do stuff.
At what age do we have this turning point where we're just like, we become the most boring people in the world and we're okay with it?
I think it just has a lot to do with how comfortable you are. Like, I think a lot of people by this age anyway, by the time you reach your, late 20s, definitely into your 30s and maybe 40s, like you've in most cases built a place that you feel is yours, whether you rent it or whether you own it. Like, you've still made it what you want it to be, and that's why you'd rather be there.
Do you think it has a lot more to do with just how exhausted you are at the end of the day? Like, when people are done working at the end of the day, a lot of the time they are just so exhausted that they're just like, I just want to go home and I don't want to do anything. I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be left alone, and I want to lay on this couch, and I want to watch Big Bang Theory or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think that's part of it. I think some of it could be you've done so much of that. Like, because I definitely, compared to how hard I used to work back in my retail days, I went out way more then. I definitely worked hard. I feel like I worked physically harder then and was way more tired all the time, like from work.
Retail is terrible. It's horrible. It is very physical.
Now I think it's more of I've been to that bar so many times. Like, I know how this night will end if I go there.
Okay.
It's more of I know that I'm just going to wake up tomorrow hungover and be like, why did I go out? And you do that enough. And then you just kind of have like learned your lessons. Like, one of my friends we saw him this past weekend. We had like a little close friend, like, holiday get together. Right. And I hadn't seen him in a while. And
didn't you do your soup party?
Did.
Oh, I forgot to ask you how that went.
It went good. Okay,
that's another topic. So
I saw him there. Right. And, he's always been like yes, let's go out. Let's go do something. There's a football game going on that I want to go to, but it's in Atlanta. Screw it. I'm going anyway. And he was literally, I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, I just knew if I went, I would drink too much and I just couldn't do it. And I was like, oh, he's evolving. Like, it's one of those things like, right. And I think everybody reaches it at different stages, but like, we're all striving to kind of be like, there also comes a point where you're like, I just don't want to be the creepy old guy at the bar. right? Because everybody stays the same age. That whole Matthew
Do you feel
McConaughey.
like you're old now?
For some settings, yes. For a college bar town, yes. For a brewery during the day, no. I feel like I'm right in that wheelhouse. I feel like I'm right there. You know,
That's the happy spot.
yeah, I'm there. Like it's hard. You got a little more leeway in those places because let's face it, they're fucking bars, but more people can go, right?
Sure.
You can take the family, and it doesn't feel like you're taking the family to a bar.
You're a family man now.
I am. It's nice. We actually go out and do more stuff now because we have the kid because we want to show her stuff, but it's during the day. Like that's completely different, right? She sleeps at night. So I will tell you this. I went to Target the other night, a couple nights ago by myself because I had to pick up a couple things and I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk around Target. And it was the first time I had strolled around a store without purpose.
Wow.
Oh, I was going to buy the decorations.
You got your little sign? Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I want to decorate the studio a little bit for Christmas this year. I'm going to go check out what Target has. And is the first time I had walked around a store without any purpose for more than 20 or 30 minutes. Like I was in there for like an hour and a half, just wandering around.
How did that make you feel?
It was like, I walked out of there. I was like, that was kind of cool. Like I didn't buy like other than
Now you know how women feel. Now you know our retail therapy. That's what it's like.
Yeah, and I didn't even really have to buy all that much. It was just more so looking at stuff, being like,
it's looking. Yes, it's that visual stimulation. It's the I could if I want to. It's a little power trip almost. You know?
yeah.
No, it's not. It's not like that at all. But it is. It's the visual stimulation of shopping, and you don't get that online. You only get that walking around a store.
It's so true.
Doesn't get it. Eric doesn't get it. I have this thing with Home Goods, and
Home Goods is dangerous.
I don't know what it is about that store. Maybe because it has just a little bit of everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Just a taste.
It just tickles every little nook. You know what I mean? Got a little dinnerware over here. Mm-hmm. You know, got a little furniture over here. Got some bedding over there. Got some towels over there. Like it's just got a little bit of everything. It's got a food section. Everybody loves food. It's got like an exotic food section. You know, it's got the pasta section.
Is your Home Goods a standalone Home Goods, or is it like ours where it's built into a TJ Maxx, so there's also clothes and shit?
No, it is standalone because we have TJ Maxx as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Ours are smashed together.
There's TJ Maxx, which you get the nice mix of like Home Goods and Marshalls.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Marshalls is pretty much just clothes.
Sure.
But then we have a couple nice big just Home Goods. No clothes. Because I don't really care about the clothes.
Sure.
But oof, man, that store.
Get lost.
When somebody made that store, they knew
it was right. They did it right.
They did it right.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like there was something about walking around a store and just physically seeing the things. And, you know, now obviously I got another lens to look at it through. I'm kind of like, ooh, what's that? Like that could be cool for Christmas for the little girl. Like there's another lens to look at it through in that respect, but just the smells of being in a retail store, like
it's different. It's an experience.
You don't get that when you're just perusing Amazon. It's not the same feeling.
Scrolling on your phone.
It doesn't feel the same. The analytical side of my brain was working though. And I was looking at certain things and I was like, that seems fucking weird. Like, so I'm walking through Target's got the book section that's normally attached to the movies and the electronics, right?
Yes. Yep.
And of course you're in a Target, they're going to be playing their own little ads in between all the little vignettes they're playing.
Sure.
And I was walking and I looked over at the TV and I heard it say, connect your Target Red card to your debit card today. And I was like, why would anyone do that? Like, what's the point there? Like, and then I was like thinking, I was like, what? And I even like made a note to myself. I was like, I got to talk about this because what the fuck?
Because they can track your purchases.
Well, what stores are trying to do is
Lopez. It's no different than when you go to the grocery store and you put in your phone number for the discount.
But I don't attach my debit card to that discount card. Like they are making it to where you attach it to where it's like, I just scan my Target card and it automatically charges my card.
Sure.
It's like they're like sitting in a boardroom like, how do we remove any and all roadblocks to their impulsive nature? How do we exploit the human condition? Like they want to get you before you're like, I don't need this shit. Like they want to get you.
Advertise it as it makes it for like an easy transition or like an easy checkout or blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I mean, the grocery stores are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did a pickup order, the other day, and it's just already got the card on there. You just place the order. Boom, so done. Convenient.
We're big blobby Wally people. It's happening.
It's scary, isn't it?
It is. That's why I think that's also why Amazon's so damn successful, because they're like, hey, look, we have it to you in a couple days and you don't have to leave your house. And that's intoxicating.
Well, I mean, look, COVID did them a huge favor.
Sure. They were already giant before that, though.
But sure. But like now, even people who didn't want anything to do with Amazon, like I know a person in particular who just was like, I'm
never buying from them.
Don't give in to the big man, blah, 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 blah. But they order stuff from Amazon now.
Mm-hmm.
Now that COVID happened,
Papa Bezos.
The house. I can't really say much either, because as much as I know that Amazon is probably not a good company or anything else, like as much as people say this kind of stuff to me, part of me in the back of my head is like, you're getting your paycheck from Amazon. You know that, right? Like Twitch is owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
So in the back of my mind, I can't really say much, like, because even if I did, I'd be a hypocrite because I'm technically working for Amazon in a sense.
In a sense, I would venture to say you're getting a paycheck from yourself doing stuff, right? Like they've provided maybe the overhead to get you there.
They've provided the website, like right. They've provided the service of allowing me to stream. Well, yeah, I guess you could.
That paycheck's not there if you're not showing up to stream, right? Like it's not.
True. And technically I'm almost paying them because people pay me for the subscription, but then they take 50% of it.
Right. They take their cut.
For using their service.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, maybe it's the other way. Like maybe I'm paying them, but they're still paying me.
Yeah, that's why I've never been like, and you've been kind of similar whenever these, because little flare-ups about the Twitch, about the Twitch community and Twitch.
And that comes up in conversation. Ugh.
And people are like, but I'm just tired of giving Jeff Bezos money. I was like, you're not. Like, come on. The guy's a bojillionaire.
You're not. I am. So give me. No.
Right. And it's like.
You're giving it to me, but then I'm giving it to him. It's fine. I'm the middleman.
And everybody's like, I'm going to make the jump. And then they do. And they're like, I'm coming back. It feels better over there. Papa Bezos was right.
They're doing something right, though. Like, they have a service. Not just Amazon for shopping, but for, they have the market right now and they know it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Nobody can compare to what they're doing. And I think that's why the majority of people are there. But the problem is from what I've heard is they're losing money every year on that service. So
for some places, it's worth losing that money just to say we've got the corner on this market.
You think so? Yeah.
There's that much hubris in it. Like maybe at some point they'll be like, we've lost too much money, but they're perfectly fine saying, because it's something for their portfolio to be like, we have the biggest streaming service available. Okay. Like, so they can present that to their investors and be like, they don't have to mention money. They can just be like, and once again, Twitch was the biggest streaming service on the internet.
No, they're like, we lost money doing it, but let's not talk about that.
We lost money, but we had this much view time. We had this many people clicking on the site. We had this many return. Like it's all about like retention, right?
I didn't think about that. I was thinking it more of a way like there's only so much money a rich person can lose on an item before they're like, this doesn't benefit me anymore. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. That's where I'm coming from, where it's like, you know what? This isn't making me money anymore. I think I'm just going to get rid of that.
Right. Now, when those other, if and when those other tent poles that are holding up the bigger portions of Amazon, if those start to fail, when you see them having trouble on the other end, that's when they'll start being like, all right, what's losing us money? We got to get rid of it. Right now, nothing else is losing them money. So why would they get rid of it? They're like, why would we willingly take all these eyes away when we could at least put our stuff, like if no one's even buying ads on Twitch, right? Amazon can still be like, well, we're just going to advertise Amazon. Like, we'll advertise our Prime Video. That's what they do anyway, right?
They do. Yeah.
So they know they've got the eyes there, so then maybe they can pull some people over to look at their other services.
That's true. I actually didn't think about that. That's actually a really good point.
It would have to get really bad for them to let go of that many people that consistently come to the internet to see something they own.
Because it's millions.
It's a lot of people.
Maybe more. I don't know. Like, I mean, there's millions of people streaming. So how many people are watching? You know what I mean?
It's worldwide. It's in countries. More. It's in countries that don't have, like Sweden. Sweden doesn't have Amazon. They can't order off Amazon, but they can watch Twitch. Like, so that's true. Worldwide. Like, it's in countries where Amazon's not. So they still get those eyeballs too.
But you can still do services from them too. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you don't like their streaming services and their audiobooks, right? They do the audiobook thing too.
Audible.
So that's huge. Yeah. I guess I really didn't think about it that way. But it is kind of scary to think of when.
Yeah.
I guess I think about it that way because my well-being rests in their greedy little palms.
I would, and I get why people would be like you would be, like, I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket. And I understand that. And I would say it's good to expand your portfolio to doing different things, but I don't think people threatening to leave Twitch is the same as people threatening to not Google anything or not use Twitter. Like, I don't know what, though. Yeah, I don't know what has to happen in order for Twitter to actually fall, but more people than ever are on there. Like, it's just kind of one of those things of like, people are going to boost the numbers to bitch about the thing that they don't like on the thing they don't like.
Speaking of Twitter, should we put some bets in on like how long we think that this burning ship is going to last, or like, should we put a bet in there, like a wager on like how long this is going to go before it blows up?
I mean, I would, if you were looking at
bad.
It's pretty bad, but if you were looking at Twitter 2 weeks ago, do you remember when everyone was like, well, just in case Twitter actually goes down, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, the next day I was like looking at all these people's things coming through my timeline. I'm like, oh God, you guys are fucking really, come on.
So there was like a statistic that was out that was actually kind of interesting, where like they showed how many people have actually left the platform since Bezos purchased it.
Oh,
and
Twitch.
It was a considerable number.
How many? Well, leaving is.
I'm sorry. Oh my God. I said fucking Bezos because we were talking about Amazon. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Elon. No, okay.
Elon Musk. Yeah. When he purchased Twitter, like how many people left, and it was pretty astronomical. It was in the millions.
Yeah, I would love to see that same report on how many people came back, because I know personally I've seen people be like, I'm out of here, and then not like the next week they're back. Like, true. I'm sure not everybody, but I'm sure they got a little bit of that back. Plus they got all the assholes that are just like, that's the one thing that's been really weird to watch, is the weird fucking fan worship of Elon Musk from some sides of the internet, where they're just like, this guy's a fucking genius. I don't give it. And like the cringiness of tweeting at Elon about something. Like, bro, you got like 76 people following you. Like, you think Elon's going to respond to you like, yo, Elon, what's up with blah, blah, blah? Like,
yeah,
you're like, shut up. And just to see people fanboy, it's on the level of people fanboying over a fucking politician, right? Like, it feels weird. It's like, you realize this guy's a billionaire and he's just trolling everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I look at those folks and I like see their tweets, because I don't follow a ton of people. I I don't follow a shit ton of people, but like I take notice of what their whole vibe is, and generally they're pretty miserable with themselves.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, that's like every troll on the internet, right?
They just love seeing everybody losing their mind.
I don't know. Like, I'm really guilty of this, and I don't know why I do it to myself, but I continue to do it. It's like watching reality TV, right? Like, you go to the comment section. Why do we go to the comment section? Nothing good comes from the comment section on any platform.
Yeah.
At all, but I do it. And then every time I get mad at myself for doing it. I don't get mad at the people. I get mad at myself for going and reading the comments that people make. And it's like, are you that stupid? And like part of you, you're just like, no, don't do it. Don't just walk away.
Well, and here's the thing, it's probably like 99% good shit, right? People in the inside joke, people that, you know, mentioning something, but it's that 1% that says some bullshit. And you're like, can you believe this motherfucker?
Man, I get those. Well, I send you those comments that I get.
Yeah.
Like on my social media. And I'm not big by any means, especially on social media. Like all my social media accounts I think my Twitter is the biggest one. I got like 11,000 followers, which is not big at all. But like, especially on like sometimes on my YouTube videos or on my TikTok video, one of my TikTok videos the other day, someone was like, your voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard to me. And I'm like, oh my God.
It probably reminds him of his wife or something like that.
He like favorited my video, and then he said something like that. And I was just like, good. I hope it haunts your dreams. like what else do you say to stuff like that? Like, man.
Yeah. In most cases, it's because A, they're miserable, and B, it probably reminds them of something someone or something they don't like. And it has nothing to do with you.
There is this sense of security that people have online where they feel protected because they have that anonymity, right? Like you don't know who this person is, and they truly don't know who you are, but they feel like they can say whatever they want to say, and there are going to be zero repercussions.
There's a layer, yeah.
How would you know? How would you know who this person is?
Yep. That goes the same.
You know for a fact that person would never say that to your face.
Oh, 100%. And like, that's also kind of like what we talked about in offline, where it's like, even people who want to be on your good side, like you don't know if they're actually presenting their true self, right?
Sure.
You know, they could just be like, here's all my good attributes. It's like, yeah, okay.
Because you have that time to
consider,
type out your message any way you want. You have time to erase it and redo it, and you don't have that when you're talking face to face with somebody. We've lost that personal connection where you get to feel somebody out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you meet I'm sure you have. You've like met that one person. You're just like, I don't have a good feeling about this person. Like, I don't like this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't do that online. I'm just looking at names and text, and that's it. I don't know somebody's intention. I don't know. I mean, there's good and bad about it, right? Like, here's the good thing is like, I'm on a daily basis, I'm probably talking to people that I probably normally wouldn't talk to in regular life, right? Like if I was out at a bar and I would see some of these people, chances are probably wouldn't approach them or whatever. You know what I mean?
And same for them probably, right? Like,
sure. And that's kind of the beauty about online, right? It gives you that opportunity to talk to people and meet people that you might not normally talk to in real life. And that's great. And I think that is the good part of the internet, right? And then there's the bad part where you've got the trolls and the people who specifically go to comment sections. It's like us in our AOL chat rooms when we were 14. You're just going in there to start shit. Like you're just going in there to troll people and get a reaction out of them. And that's what these people they love it. They just thrive on it. And I just don't understand it.
I think the general person, and you see it a lot on Twitch and on Twitter and so I think a lot of social media. I think people mistakenly write trolls off as like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They're just being assholes. Like Like, I think
they know exactly what they're doing.
Just like that person who's trying to be on your good side that has the time to think about what they're going to type and before they hit enter. Like the troll is taking that much time, if not way more, to be like, what's really going to fuck with this person? So, your voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard. What do? You use your voice to make money, right? You use your voice to communicate with people. So they're just trying to put a little something in your head, make you think, is my voice annoying? Is it bad? Care.
I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Yeah.
But some people it would.
Sure. And I think another big thing is, especially being a woman in video games, like you have to have a big backbone. Like if you are there is a trend right now on TikTok. It's been going on for a couple months, but it's a huge trend now, and a lot of women are picking it up. But it's just being a woman and talking in a video game, and the things that men say just because. And she was just saying, like, at the end of a lobby, she'll just be like, GG guys, good game, and they'll just be like, shut up, blah 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 blah, blah, like horrible things, just horrible things, get back in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, or you fat bitch, or like, just, it's really bad.
Yeah,
it's really, really bad. And it's not just like a one-off situation. She literally has an entire series about it. She's making a living right now by making videos about how toxic men are to women in gaming. And it's not for everybody.
It's not. And that's actually one of the things I had written down, like avoiding that negativity online. So it's kind of funny we went there, but like being able to like parse that out and not let it get into your head, right? It can piss you off that it's there maybe, but like you said, you're not letting it affect like the way you run your stream or, put your content out there.
I think sometimes like, the game Hunt that I play normally, you have the option to turn the audio on and off, and it's not like an open mic situation. Like you specifically have to press a button down to talk. Like it's a push to talk situation. So people aren't just blabbering things usually.
You do it with intention.
They do it with intention, which I don't know what's worse, honestly. Someone just having like a fluid conversation of just insanity, or them specifically pushing the button down to try to say something hurtful to you. But for a while there, I had the audio off, and then I went through a phase where I had it on, and we had a few bad eggs, and then I went back off. But at the same time, like a lot of people are just like, well, why don't you just keep it off? And part of me wants to, because sometimes it kind of, depending on what is said, obviously, it can kind of bring down the vibe or whatever. But at the same time, I am lucky enough and fortunate enough that I am in a position where I'm a partner with them. So if I can get this recorded and I can get video proof of them being this way or being really horrible, they can get a nice little vacation.
Yeah. You can get them gone for a little while.
Yeah, and possibly they won't say these hurtful things to other people who might care that they say these things about them. Like to me, when people say things to me like, I don't care, I just brush it off. Like, I really don't care what people think of me. But other people do. I mean, that's the reality of it. Like maybe somebody is not mentally in a good place, and then somebody, says something horrible to them, and video games is an outlet for us. And I think for the most part, the gaming community is very supportive. And like, I just don't understand why people just can't be nice to each other, because you're both playing the same game. You obviously like it. So you have at least that in common, right? So like, why do people choose to spend the few hours that they have in the evening to just be a nasty human being to random people on the internet? Yeah. I just don't understand the benefit of it.
I feel like it's much like a troll in any other scenario. They just want someone to be miserable with them, and they don't even know that. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think they consciously know I want someone to be miserable with me. They just want to be a shit, and they don't realize it's because, oh, I really don't fucking like myself. Like it's one of those things, and maybe not in every case, but I think in most cases, especially when I watch like a streamer that's like super toxic or something like that, I'm just kind of like, that guy fucking hates himself. Like it's all I can see. And I think it's just some of that has more to do with me knowing people like that in real life. Like having worked with people like that.
You know what's crazy too? Is because everything is so public, right? Like everything that you put on your social media is just out there for the world. So like,
yeah,
I mean, that's just like a whole other situation you need to be careful about. But sometimes when people do these insults, it's like they really do the research, right? Like one person in particular was commenting on me and how, you know, the only reason I'm successful is because of so-and-so and so-and-so. But like, how would that person know? Like, I never posted anything with these people. How would that person know that I play with these people if they didn't know that much about me? You know what I mean? They would have had to have come to my stream.
Or to
they
theirs.
Would have had to have watched like a YouTube video with these people in it or something. You know what I mean? They have done their research on me. It's like your haters. It's like your haters are your biggest fans. They know so much more about you. And it's crazy.
Yeah, and I have a theory about that. I have a theory that they are just really upset that they don't get to play with that person.
Maybe. It could be jealousy.
I think that's a lot. I think that's my theory. I mean, it could be many things, but I think that they are mad because they have their person and maybe one of their goals is to play a game with that person. And then when they probably would do it to someone else that might come in and play with them. Like, well, you're only there because of this. Like it's their go-to. They're just so insecure, right?
I think they think that it's going to affect me in some way, but it's like, I know better. You know what I mean? Like I've worked hard. I've worked very hard for where I am. That person didn't show up to my house and stream for me. I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. I put the 70 hours in a week. You know what I mean? Like that stuff doesn't affect me. But the fact that this person did enough research to know that I do these things or I play with these people, like it was definitely a direct blow. You know what I mean? Like they were really trying to get to me. I could tell, but it's like, it didn't, your opinion doesn't matter to me. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are.
And there's no difference between that guy and the guy saying, get back in the kitchen, you fat bitch. Right? He's just doing it in a different way. Like he's mad. Because he's not getting to play, right? He's not in the club, so to speak. And he's also mad because a girl gets to do it. Like I guarantee it. There's so much sexism threaded throughout the internet. It's ridiculous. Like it's just
there is
the liberties that we talked about a little bit in offline, like the liberties that people take with what they say to females online, the liberties they take in any of that stuff. And there's kind of like,
you see it on Twitter all the time where people will just be like, oh, you know, like I love your content and blah, blah, blah. Like you're so nice. And would you want to play games? And then they like kindly shut them down. They're like, okay, you fat bitch. Like,
yeah, well, fuck you then. Yeah.
It turns from like really genuine to like really nice to just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that gets scary. And that's why I don't try to have conversations with people off of stream too much. I mean, I think it was different like when I first started, right? Because you're trying to make friends, you're trying to network, like every person that comes in is like super important. And not to say people who come in now aren't important, but what I'm saying is like when you only have 10 people there and only 2 people are talking, like obviously you're going to give all of that attention to that person. And I think like back when I first started and I first started meeting people, like that's how you and I met, was in another chat room. And we just, I don't even know how we happened to figure out that each other streamed, and we just followed each other and started talking. And then we're like, yeah, we should play games together sometime. And it was like, okay, cool. Like I feel like I can't do that now. You know what I mean?
I've thought about that several times. I've got friends like you and some other folks where I'm just kind of like, I would never be able to have that type of friendship with someone. Like that type of friendship with you now. Like if I came in and we didn't know each other, I would never get to this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was of the type of friendship we have where, you know, us and our spouses and, you know, other friends, we all hang out once a year, like all that stuff like that would never happen because it's just like you said, when you only have a few people, right? You only have a few folks. You get to know a lot about them.
Just like I had another job, like it wasn't my priority, right?
Sure.
Like it was a hobby. I was just playing games, and then I was just finding people to play games with. Like I moved away from home, so I didn't have any friends where I was living. So video games was just kind of my outlet, you know? So to find other people, when I found Twitch, it was like life-changing for me. I know that sounds really stupid and corny, but like it really was. It was like, oh my God, there's people who are just like hanging out and playing video games and like talking. And like, obviously these people, like you have something in common if you're liking the same video game. So to be able to like meet new people like you guys. So like I met you, and then, you know, like we met Sean, or I met Sean through you. And then like, it just kind of escalated, like Rick and Faye and like everybody. Like these are all people that I still talk to. I talk to you every day. You know what I mean? Like I don't have that with anybody else. Well, I talk to Joe a lot, but I mean, other than that, like between you and Joe, like those are the people I talk to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just can't get to that point where I make those friendships anymore, because now I feel like there needs to be a boundary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and there's also when you're super tiny and there's only, like you said, there's only like 10 people in chat and only 3 of them are chatting. Like you get to know so much more about those people because there's not it's 100 messages between everything they're saying. Right.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There's definitely times where it's like, it was definitely like you and like 1 or 2 other, like Rick and, you know, just maybe Sean. Like there were just you 3 in my chat. Right. And I'm just like talking to all of you. And like, and I can do that. Right.
It. And like half the time we were playing the game with you while we were in the chat with you. So it was like,
yeah. So, I mean, it's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely an odd thing. You definitely, you know, people are like, you changed, like you blah, blah, blah. Like, cause you definitely see it. You have to. You just can't let everyone in. Like it just doesn't happen.
So there is somebody who follows, and they have mentioned something like that. Like, oh, I miss your old streams when you used to be like this. Well, it's just like, I can't be like that. I can't be that person anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of that goes mostly because this is my job now. Like I need to be more professional about it, because now other companies are looking to me for like sponsorships and everything else. You know what I mean? But like, also because the internet is not the same as it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it has evolved, and it's not really a great place anymore. Like there's just bad people out there, and now they have access to you at any time, and you need to be careful.
There's that. There's the fact that you might not talk about the same type of stuff you might have talked about when you had 10 people in chat, because now you have 300 to 500 people in chat, and you may not want all that stuff out there.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
nope.
There's definitely conversations
about location or anything like that is a big no.
Right. Like everything just kind of changes. Like talk to any of our other friends, talk to Games with Death. Like there are just things that they have to go away, because it's just too much information to be out there. Because people can, I mean, it's like the inmates getting information about one of the guards, right? It's like an inmate, like, because they have nowhere else to be.
Because you have like 300 people that are great, but then there's like that one person in there, right, that could be malicious in a way, which is like another thing. We talked about this on offline, where like the people that you choose to surround yourself with is truly important in a lot of these online settings. And I think a lot of people, especially like on other social media and stuff, I don't think people go in and block people who are intentionally malicious towards them, or like say things that could make you feel uncomfortable. Like sometimes I'll look at comment sections and I'll see comments and I'd be like, that person would be gone. I would just block them so that they cannot. It's not because it's like, oh, she just wants to block people who have bad things to say about her. No, it's not that. It's just, I think you're a creep, or I think you're malicious, and I just don't want that in my life. Like I can choose not to see that, and that's what I choose to do. And
you're not being constructive, so why would I even pay attention to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you had something to offer and something to actually put on the table, like you see what you should be doing. No. Like, fine, let's talk. But that's not the way that the internet works anymore.
Yeah, it's not, and I think too, just some of it, it's like when we're talking about why I don't go out and drink like I used to go drink, because I've learned some things, I've seen some things, I've talked to some people. Like I just, it's not worth putting all that shit out there. You know,
No.
I've pulled back on a lot of my accounts that were kind of fringe, like social media accounts of mine, and I'm just like, this is just going to be a private account now. Like I don't even need.
I just don't like using social media anymore, but unfortunately, I kind of have to.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to, grow on other platforms and stuff. Like not so much because I like want to become like an influencer or anything on other platforms, but like again, not having all of your eggs in one basket is really important. I think anybody who's trying to start out there and do the influencing thing, like it's hard and it is a slow process. Like right now, I've been working towards getting the 1,000 followers on TikTok, and it has been a very slow road. Like even though I have 30,000 people following me on Twitch, I still can't get 1,000 people on TikTok. You know what I mean?
Oh, and they're different. They're different beasts, right? They're different.
100%, completely different. And plus, I don't know enough about the algorithm and everything else. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole other thing, is trying to learn all of that, but. Also, it's not my number one priority. I think that probably shows, you know what I mean? Like I don't do lives. I don't do anything like that. So
I think too, it's like there's a certain level of like, there's a certain level of like pride in what you do that you have to leave at the door to reach certain levels in that stuff.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Like if I really wanted attention, I really wanted to get out there, like I would just wear a low cut top and,
Yeah.
I could really put myself out there.
Right.
But I wouldn't feel good about it at the end of the day. And then you're just inviting yourself open to like a whole other level of creeps, right? So
I'm willing to bet like the way that you have kind of constructed your community and kind of gone about things. I know you get your fair share of creepy stuff, like,
yeah.
But I think that you probably get less than a lot of other streamers and content creators and influencers.
100%. And I think,
but it's all about those boundaries.
I think my community is a lot more genuine too, because people are hanging out because they either like your personality, they like the gameplay, they like there's something there that they like that's not physical.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not something that I'm like, I don't pretend to be like, oh, like donate 10 subs, subs or whatever, and we'll play video games together. Like, it's not like that. Like when you come, like, you know what you're going to get. You know what I mean?
No squats for subs, streams coming up.
Yeah, no. Like, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Strap in. But yeah, I think having those boundaries online and in person are very important. And people just need to be, I don't know. I think people just need, it's okay to just let it go. It's okay if people aren't there.
Yeah. I've always kind of felt like that way about life in general and like about, because we all know those folks like that maybe you went to high school with, or maybe their family, and you're like, how is this person making this much money? I know how much of a dumbass they are. Like, how are they living like they're living?
Exactly what you mean.
And what it comes down to is there's one of two things. They either don't care about anyone and they'll step on anyone to get there, or they're so dumb that they just take these wild chances.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And they pay off, right? And you're like,
you're probably right.
And I think that it's like being an influencer and being a content creator, there's very much that same road. It's like, well, I'm just gonna be as close to topless as I can be, and put out content, and come what may, right? Come what may, and all the comments and the DMs. But I think a lot of things are like that. Like I'd make a terrible, like I've always said, I'd make a terrible rich person because I am too much of a people pleaser. Like I want everybody to be around and comfortable and having a good time.
Same.
And it's just, I'd be terrible at being rich. I think there's just a certain level of unless you are born into it or you luck into it, there's a certain little bit of yourself you got to let go of in order to get to certain levels.
True. I think you would be a good rich person.
I think I'd be a good rich. I'll put it this way. I think I'd be a good rich person. I think I'd have a tough time holding on to my money. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. That I understand because you are definitely the person that just like, if you were rich, I can see you being the person that like, if somebody is out and they're just like, man, I'm just having a really tough time right now. Like, even if they didn't know, like if you were the kind of person that would have won the lottery and never told anybody about it. If you had a friend that came to you and you're like, man, I am just really struggling right now. You are the kind of person that would take your shirt off for them and just give it to them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the only true way you can leave good marks on the world, right? Like that's the only way to leave something lasting, because if you're not, I don't know, I'm just a sucker for helping people, I think. So
I agree. And somebody asked me like a while ago, they're like, what do you think the best thing is about like, what do you think the best thing has happened since becoming a partner? And the only thing that I can think of that has been really nice is that like, I try to hype my friends up. Like there is this big stigma on Twitch where at the end of your stream, you can raid somebody and you send all of your viewers over to another person. And there is a huge thing where a lot of people are like, well, do you notice big streamers don't do that? Because they don't want to lose their audience to another person. I get it. There's definitely two sides to it, right? Like, sure, you might, I don't think you're going to lose the people, but
did you really lose them? Yeah.
Right. Sure. That maybe 1% of those people follow that person and then they start watching them regularly. But at the same time, it's like, why? Like, what is the point of me being in the position that I am in if I cannot help my friends?
Yeah.
I don't understand the selfish mindset behind like, oh, well, don't do that because then other people can steal you from me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I
don't get it. Like, I'm a very empathetic person. You know what I mean? I'm the same as you. I'd be a really bad rich person because like if something like, because I have a few friends, like I came from a very poor place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like most of the people where I grew up just were not very well off. And if I had money, I would want to help those people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because they are good people, but like I just know that they're not in a great place and they deserve to be. So it's kind of the same thing where I just feel like if I can get into a position that is good enough that I can help my friends, then I feel like I'm doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I know when I say things where I'm just like, oh, well, I'm very closed off and I don't want to talk to people and blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, there's that professional side of it. But at the same time, like the people that are close to me and the people that I care about, like if I can't do something to help them or make them happy, then I don't feel like I'm contributing to the relationship. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. It does. I don't know, like it's just, and there's something about like just, I think there's a stigma attached to the whole rating type thing where they're just kind of like, it doesn't really do anything for you. I was like, well, who says it's about doing anything for me? Like maybe it's just, it could be the coolest thing that happened to this person all week because they're working hard to just do anything on the platform, and like to just drop an extra couple hundred people on them is fulfilling to me. It has nothing to do with like, is this going to do anything for me? Like, because there was a while there where it was like, well, you should only rate people like your level or higher, right?
Your size.
Yeah, your size or higher, right? And that way you can kind of start to network in that way. And even networking has turned into bullshit. Like it's really just like,
for sure,
the people, especially now after the boom of everybody coming in to watch during the pandemic, like people are kind of settled into where they're going to be. Like, when's the last time you found a new streamer that you watch regularly?
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like that's a trick question almost, because my friends are streamers now.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean,
watch my friends.
Right. But outside, like, I think that most of the audiences are like that. They know they've worked you or whoever they're watching into their daily routine. Like,
Sure.
I mean, you go live, I pop up a tab and it's there, whether I'm actively watching or not, or if I'm working, it's up. Like, it's just a thing now. Like, and I think everyone's kind of settled into that. So like, I think it's kind of bullshit to be like, well, you might lose those people. It's like, well, then you're concerned about the wrong shit. Like, you're not confident. And I think Death brought this up. Like, you're not confident in what you're doing if you can't do that. Like,
ooh, true.
You're not confident in yourself. You have a problem with you that you're worried about one or two people not coming back. Because guess what? Whether you raid someone or not, one or two people aren't coming back the next day.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And do you know how many times like I have actually raided somebody that maybe only has like one or two people, and like it literally just made the difference to them. Like there was somebody in the community, she's so sweet. She's so sweet. And you know, she's just kind of having a hard time right now. And I raided her one day and they just, the community, just because she's part of the community, they just showered her with love. And it was kind of emotional. Like she started crying and like, then she told us, you know, it was everything that she was doing, or like all of the proceeds were pretty much just going for her kids for Christmas because they couldn't afford it. And it's
tough. It's tough to deal with. Man. Yeah.
It really stuck me. Because I was like, I didn't know this person was going through that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just drop this bomb on them and it was just like a blessing to them. And it's like, that is why I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I can help somebody, anybody, like if I can just make a difference for somebody because of my luck of being in this position, then I feel like I'm doing something right.
Yeah, well, and there's something to be said for like just being like, well, it's that like, do I lift myself up or do I lift someone else up, right? Like, it's like, do I go raid like a big streamer and maybe I strike up a relationship with them, which you're probably not, you know?
Never.
Or
it doesn't work that way.
Just make someone else's day? Because like, I don't know. I think that it's all about the confidence in yourself when it comes to like, do I raid someone? Like, it's just like, just fucking do it. Who cares? Like, it's just like,
I always try to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like a common courtesy is all. I don't know.
And it's so easy to do. And everyone knows, like, and everyone understands how Twitch works. Like, yeah, it's going to be that massive influx of people. A lot of people are going to leave and move on to whatever they do the rest of the day. Yeah. But like, it's still the gesture. It has nothing to do with the people staying. I think most people understand that. Like,
I think it carries some weight too. You know what I mean? Because you're like, well, I like this person and this person is rating this person, which means that they probably like that person, which means that I will probably like that person. So like,
it's an endorsement. Like it's you're endorsing it.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, I agree.
Not to say I haven't raided someone I wish I didn't raid before. Like that's happened.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I try not to do that anymore because that has definitely happened. And then like, I've gotten a message later where it's just like, why did you raid this person? Like, who is this person? I'm like, oh my God, it was random. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I've seen where there's been tweets that have gone out from other streamers where they're like, yeah, that's not indicative of who I am as a person or who our community is.
It was random, I swear.
Right. And it's like, you know.
It's like I was trying to do something nice and it just blew up in my face.
Yeah. And I think that gives a lot of people pause because there is a lot more to see when you look at like, okay, who do we raid? It's like, well, back when you and I started playing Hunt Showdown, there was only like 6 other people raid. Like, so
there was like nothing.
There was like no one. So it was kind of easy to pick through and be like, oh, I've seen this guy before because he's one of 4 people, not including me. Like it's super easy. But now it's like when a directory gets so deep with people, like you don't know where to go, so you just kind of hopefully find someone that you're familiar with in some way.
Yeah, and luckily I'm pretty familiar with my directory anyways, that I can, you know, guide people to a better place. But
yeah, it's awesome. That's good. I think it's a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was good. Guys, if you want to follow Kerrty, it's at Kerrty Plays on social media. It is Kerrty on Twitch and YouTube. I'll have all the links in the description of the podcast, in the description of the YouTube video. So check them out below. Yeah, please rate, review, subscribe. Go check out Kerrty. It's a fun place to be. It really is. Kerrty, thank you for being on. Really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, dude.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.